All right, so I had a phone die. So we're going to finish up. This is part 2 of our seagull here, and I'm going to go ahead and finish this puppy up for you guys. It's gotten quite a bit darker outside, so I'm actually going to turn on my overhead lights here real fast on this side. So when I got cut off last time, I was just getting ready to go on here and say what the next step was. So we had put float B and rope pieces A and B down, and now we're going to go to float C and rope pieces C through E. As I was doing that, I heard this little bloop on my phone, and I thought, what was that bloop? I better check. And yep, it had died. So float C is over here, and I can see a little bit of it up here. Hold on, let me take a peeky here. Okay, so down here is where that is. So I can see that kind of connecting, and it just goes right up to B. Yeah, just like that. Beautiful. So yeah, so I was waiting for my phone to charge for a while, and as I was doing that, I got other stuff done, so that was nice. And then we want to do D or C, D, and E of the rope. So these are the pieces of rope that go around the post. So we're going to do C. Get those little tiny little thread, just one. And I'm just going to lift this up and take a look. C, D, E. Okay, so C is coming down here. Now it's really hard for me to see exactly where it goes through there, but I know that it needs to kind of cover this point. There we go. And I can see it peeking out over here. So I'm just going to lay it down. That looks good. D is the last of this light tan color. And it just goes right up here, right up to the edge of that post to wrap around. And then you want to make sure that it covers that top of piece C. And then it should just kind of wrap sort of right around the edge of that other post. So it's kind of wrapping around there. And then we have piece E, which is the last of this medium tan. And I have a few little threads sticking out on this one. We are very close to finished with the applique. Okay, so this one is up a little bit. Okay, so it goes, I can see that little edge right there now. So it goes right here, wraps around that post right there. Beautiful. Okay, so now the next step, we want to do float. Okay, all seagulls 1 through 11. So remember, besides the ones that we put together, 1, 2, and 3, we also have all these little seagulls in our black piece to put in. So first let's put our 1, 2, 3. So we're going to just gently peel off big guy here. Whoop, part of his tail's wanting to stick to the pressing sheet. I'm going to start peeling from the bottom up because of that. And with the little legs, I don't want to peel up and just keep going. I mean, I can, but these little pieces under here, because it's so thick, they're probably going to want to stick to the pressing seat. So I'm just going to peel up and then peel back. So sometimes peeling from different directions off your pressing sheet is the best way to go to keep it kind of all intact. Because remember, it hasn't been fused. It's just been gently steamed together. And I have his legs wanting to be wonky there. Okay. Oh, and speaking of fusing, I get my iron waking up. Wake up. Okay, so Seagull 1 is in place. So now let's do Seagull 2, which is this guy who's flying, I believe. Yes. These don't really matter. Any of the seagulls, you don't have to put these necessarily in numerical order. They're ones that, you know, they don't lay upon each other. So if you don't put them in order, that's okay. One of those times when that is okay. 3, our last one that was multi-pieced. He's sitting down here in the sand, hoping for some scraps. And then now we're done with our pressing sheet too. So I'm just going to put my pressing sheet off to the side, out of the way. And I'm going to start going through all these guys. So We did 1, 2, 3. So let's just go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and do them in numerical order just because. So here's number 4. Number 4 is also kind of hanging out in the sand. He's further away. Hoping for some fish guts from a 5 fisherman. Up here in July, they'd be hoping for some fish guts from our dip net folks. They leave them all over the place. It's fabulous. That's sarcasm, by the way. It stinks. Okay, 5, 6. Where's 6? Here's 6. You know, I know a lot of people don't like seagulls. I actually think that they're really beautiful birds. I know they can be annoying. There's a bajillion of them. Sometimes it's frustrating, but you know, the sound of a seagull and viewing seagulls, they just, for me, we see them in the summer and they can be irritating, especially if there's a lot of them and you have to watch out for them dropping bombs on you. But I actually really like seagulls. When you get to see them up close, they're really very, very pretty birds. And ever since Nemo, of course, I always hear mine, mine, mine whenever I see them. And I kind of love that. But if you know, part of beach life is seagulls through pretty much everywhere I've ever been. Okay. A few more guys and then we're about done. 10. Yeah, my phone just couldn't stand it. Had to die on me. I was hoping I would make it, but nope. Okay, this guy's kind of off into this, very gentle. Watch out for the wings because they are very delicate. Okay, where is this guy? I think he might be... Oh, I didn't see him. He's right there. If you happen to pull a wing apart, you can do 2 things. If it got mangled as you pulled it apart, you can just like trim it to a point and leave it. I mean, they're all different shapes and they're out there silhouetted. So if your guy loses a bit of his wing, you're not going to notice. But if it pulls and it tears, like this guy, I'm going to do it on purpose. Okay, I teared his wing off. I have a little thread and I'm going to trim that little thread and just kind of give myself a straight point. I'm going to put that part on, and then I'm going to take this little piece, and I'm going to, just want to show you how to heal these, butt it right up against that wing, and you can't even tell. And when I go to fuse it, that's going to take that glue, and it's going to fuse all those threads right there, so you won't even notice. So if something like that happens to you anytime, if you have something split or pull, you can always just kind of, you know, if they've got threads dangling, trim those little threads off so you get more of a straight edge and just put the pieces right back to each other. And when the fusible goes in there, it's just going to heal that and you won't even notice. So we're done with our center. Oop, I had this tape down. Let me remove that tape. So our seagull is finished. And now what's next in your instructions? Well, first thing we want to do before we move on to anything else is we're going to want to fuse everything well with steam. So I'm going to remove my light board. Oops, and I dropped my scissors. Grab my little ironing mat and put this down on here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fuse everything. So the fusing process is very important that you use steam. And we're going to go through the whole thing here on how to do it. So, I always use steam or water, one or the other. When I do my final fusing, I believe that it is, if you just do dry heat, I have had things still peel up. I really feel like the water does something to just sort of really permanently bond that glue better than anything else. So, when you get ready, you want to have your iron on a medium heat. You don't want it too hot because if it's too hot, what will happen is you'll start to see, especially in lighter colors, you'll start to see these little dots, and it's not the weave, but it's the texture of the glue. And when that happens, it's like the glue is like getting fried is what I call it. It's like instead of it like melting out and filling in all the little spaces between all the little dots of glue. It just sort of like too much heat and it just stays right there. So that's how I think of it. I don't know what the real technical thing is, but if you notice as you get going that you're seeing little dots somewhere, that means you need to turn your iron down. So just be aware as you get going of what the heat is on your iron. So what I'm going to go ahead and show you here, last steps, is if you're using a steam iron, this one is capable of steam, but I don't trust it because one of the times that I was steaming, it spit out a whole bunch of minerals from the water, and I'd even been using like cleaned water, so I'm not sure how that happened. I was really frustrated about that, and it stained my background and with like iron. So I don't believe in this, or don't trust in this iron anymore, but I like that it has a nice big footprint for doing this part to show you guys. So I actually use a spray bottle on a mist setting and to get my water onto my background, and then I use the iron to evaporate that and steam it that way. But if you have a steam iron that you trust and you want to use a steam iron, what you'll do is you'll hold your iron about within an inch of the appliques. Oh, wait, hang on, back me up. Before we go to iron, we want to just gently put a little heat on everything to make sure that everything stays in place when we go to steam it. So one of the things with a steam iron, and I forget to do this sometimes because I don't use steam, but if you're using steam for sure, when you blast it with steam, sometimes that's it's quite a force, and it could make one like these little birds. They might go and fly off somewhere else. And we don't want that to happen because sometimes they fly off and they end up upside down, and then you're going through and you find out you have a little bird stuck to your iron. And now, one, your applique's ruined, and two, you have, glue all over your iron, and then you have to clean your iron. So before you get to the steaming process, we're going to just go through and I just gently, lightly press everything down. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And once you've done that, everything's now it's sort of wanting to stay where it is. But we have to permanently bond that. So if you're using a steam iron, now that it's all pressed, you're going to hold your iron about within an inch of the footprint of your iron on above your appliques, and you're going to hit steam, and you're going to blast it with steam for about 5 or 6 seconds. I usually just kind of, this is what I do. And set it straight down. Dry heat now, and you want to let it evaporate that steam, that moisture that it put in there, for about another count of 8 to 10 seconds. Then you move on to your next footprint. Do it again. Heat or steam. Set it down. You didn't know I could do sound effects too. Okay. I don't like using my steamer because I don't trust it, so I use a spray bottle. So when I do this, I really wet it quite a good amount. And then when I go set my iron on it, it does its own little I don't know if you could hear it. Anyhow, and then I just leave it there. I don't touch it. I let it go for about maybe 8 to 10 seconds. And that way I know that it's evaporating that steam and it's getting some dry heat on there, and it's really getting that glue to stick and bond well to the background. Then I move on to my next footprint, and I just sit there and let it go. And I'll do this over the entire thing. And once I'm finished doing the top, I'll actually flip it over and I'll do it from the back, because you'll notice, like here in this float here, we have more than just, well, now you can't see. Over here now in this float, we have a aqua color over well, let's even go here. We have a medium tan over an aqua, over a dark blue, over a tan. And so there's a lot of layers of fabric here with that glue. And I want that heat and that steam to penetrate all the way down to the layer that is against my background, because this is what it really needs to bond to, right? That background. They need to bond to each other, but they need to bond to the background. So sometimes when you're doing it, from the top like this, you might not really get that steam penetrating all the way through. So I flip it over and I do the same sort of thing from the back when I'm all finished with it. And that way I know that I've got steam all the way through all the layers. And so that's it. So I'm just gonna continue. And while I'm continuing to do this, I'm gonna talk a little bit about quilting. once you've got this finished. So for quilting, this is a wall hanging. It's probably not going to get washed much, but it might. You never know. In the case that you ever end up deciding to wash it, and I'm skipping quilting right now, I'm going straight to washing. Wash it on a delicate cycle in your washer and then hang it dry. Why wouldn't you want to put it in the dryer? Well, what is the dryer? It's taking damp clothes, damp material, and then applying heat to it and to dry it, right? What am I doing right now? I'm taking a damp background, a damp fabric, and I'm applying heat to it to get my glue to soften up and fuse. So if you stick it straight into the dryer from the washer, you do run a risk of making your glue soften up and things coming up. So always let it air dry. And once it's dry, then you can go ahead and if you need to iron it, whatever, you can do that at that point too. And you can even steam it while you're ironing it. It's not going to hurt it, but just once it's dry all the way. Okay. So that's one thing. Number two, when it comes to quilting, I have a neck injury. I don't like to sew very much. So people always find that amusing because, I work in the quilting and sewing industry, but I actually can't sew for very long without it really bothering my neck. So what I like to do is draw. I like to make you guys designs that you can do. Oh, and once you've got it fused, then you can do a little bit of, ironing, kind of going through and making sure nothing feels damp anymore. So basically, I don't like to do a lot of quilting because it involves sitting at a sewing machine for a long time. I know people who have done very beautiful and amazing quilting on some of the designs that they've done of mine and then shown me. And I'm just like, wow, it really can take it to a whole nother world. You could do like quilting little sky, like little, oh my gosh, what are they called? Clouds. You could put little clouds in here. You could put little texture in the sand. You could do whatever you want. You can make it really amazing. You could add other colors. You could do all kinds of stuff. You could embellish on this, whatever you want to do. You can certainly do that. I don't do that. The reason I don't is because I don't like to. It hurts me. I don't want to. So if you're going to stitch on your appliques at all, use a matching colored thread because as you stitch through the seam, it's actually puncturing through that glue too, and it will leave a little hole, and your thread as a matching color is going to fill that hole. So you won't see the holes, you'll see the threads. But if you use a clear and you stitch, especially through light colors, it will look like a whole bunch of little black holes everywhere that your thread punctured. So if you're going to stitch on the appliques themselves, use a matching colored thread. If you're like me and you don't like changing your thread much, you can use a clear thread. And what I will almost always do for quilting, and I do have on my website some photos of this. So if you go to my website, which is www.wildfiredesignslaska.com, and you go to my tips page, I have on binding. So if you need help on binding, I have photos and step-by-step going through binding. I also have on my quilting and how I do it with some close-up pictures of stuff. But what I will do is I'll take a clear thread and I'll start somewhere like maybe here or maybe over here if I'm going to stitch. And I will stitch within 1/8 of an inch on the background, not on the appliques. And I will just stitch close to the applique, up around here, up this guy, all around him, back down and over here. And then I might come over here and stitch here, down and over here. Now this is an applique, right? Over here in this beach area, this is an applique. So I won't stitch on that. I'll stitch to here. And then I'll do the same over here. I'll come over here, I'll stitch around this, and I'll come back, stitch around this guy and go down. I might not stitch this at all. If I'm going to, I probably would just stitch really, really close to the edge of these grass pieces, or I might not do it at all. I don't think I actually did on my samples that I did myself. Just because I don't like stitching in the appliques. And if I did, I probably used a matching color thread because I will do that, especially on lighter fabrics, you really notice it. So, and then I might come in like in this area and do clear stitching. Again, I'm doing it on the background. I'm just doing free motion. You could stitch around your little birds if you want, whatever you want to do. I think I stitched around this guy to highlight him, but I left these guys alone. So whatever you want to do for quilting is fine. At this stage, once you've steamed it, and I'll steam the back too, but I'm not going to do that right now because, you know, it's kind of boring. Once you've steamed it, you do have a couple more little steps to do. So once everything's steamed, you want to stitch on your borders. So we have our borders. Please rinse, iron dry, wash your borders, but you don't have to. So the cutting diagram tells you what to do with borders. You would have cut them in the beginning if you're following instructions, but then you have your little black inner border and you have your starfish outer border and you have binding here. So I just love this one. I love the color of it. So quilt your wall hanging as desired, stitch binding strips together and apply. And I have here that you can go to my tips page, my website's on all my patterns and everything, if you need any help on how to do binding. And as I mentioned before, part of the reason I don't go through the sewing part is because it's hard to do this and you don't even get to see me. But so I always figure if you're someone who's doing this, you probably have a local quilt shop that would be able to kind of walk you through some of the basic quilting stuff. And then you can always go to my tips page too. I'm always using 1/4 inch seams in everything that I do. So you'll always want to do 1/4 inch seams. And that's it. And then you're finished. And so here's your lovely little seagulls. This thing is so ugly. Move this out of the way. Okay. Here's our lovely little seagulls hanging out at the beach on the post with the Japanese buoys and the other buoys that are common up here at least. And I hope you guys enjoyed doing this and watch more of my tutorials and see that it's really not that difficult. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together. I've had some people say. I always say it's like stickers. Peel and stick. Anybody can do it. Looks so much harder than it really is. And I know you guys can do it. And if you have any questions, you feel free to contact me. I'm best to reach through email. I don't always get back to people right away. You can call. I tend to think most calls from out of state could be spam. So I'm sorry, I don't always answer right away, but I do try to check my messages and get back to folks. But I'm really busy all the time, as you can probably guess, putting kits together and getting them out to everybody. So if I don't get back to you right away, I apologize, and I'm not trying to ignore you. I usually just have a lot going on in my life and keeping up with everyone's needs. So thank you so much, and I will do some more tutorials soon, and I hope you enjoy them. Bye-bye.